All right, we've added our structure to our recipe info area. Now let's start taking control of the style of this area. So I'm going to scroll all the way down, and if you hear anything kind of crazy going on, my cat decided to start playing with its ball. So you might hear some things crashing in the background. She gets a little crazy sometimes, but oh well, the show's got to go on, right? All right, so styles. We're going to take control of our recipe info area. So what we're going to do first is let's find our section that is our class recipe info, and that's what we're going to style first. Okay, so let's go ahead and paste. Okay, and this formatting is correct. I was going extra formatting up at the top, so I'm just going to start leaving it this way in case you're wondering. All right, so here is our selector, recipe info. Again, we're going to use position relative. We're going to set the width to 60%. Okay, so this element, this whole element, is going to be relative in the normal flow of the document. So it's going to follow what is our header. Okay. And let's take a look now. We're going to set the height to auto, so it's going to automatically adjust to whatever's inside. And we're going to zero out the margin and the padding. So let's go ahead and save and refresh our page here. Okay, now it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back here and let's just add a border. And I do this often, and you'll see this with some other code. I might have it commented out, but I tend to add borders just so I can visually see what's happening. Okay, so let's just go 1 pixel solid, and we'll do a white border. And we'll go ahead and save. And we'll refresh our page. And now you can see that space for that section. Okay. So I'm going to leave these borders as we're working so you can really get a sense of what's happening. And then once we get the layout, we can remove the borders, and you can remove them or you can comment them out. And so they're no longer there. But while I'm building, sometimes I like those borders in so I can really get a visual for what's going on and how things are moving. All right, so let's go back to our styles. And what we need to now deal with is our recipe name and also our H3. So let's first start out with our recipe name. All right, so we're going to control the area of the recipe name. And again, I have a border here, so I'm going to take the comments off so you can see what's going on. So we're targeting the class recipe name. We're going to set the position to relative. The width is going to be 33.3333%. So I'm using what's called a floating point. And the reason I'm using a floating point of to the 4th position is, think of it this way. If you had 100% and you divided that 100% into thirds, it's 33. Well, 33, 33, 33 is 99. 1% doesn't seem like a bunch, but in this environment, that 1% will create a little visual space. So I'm going to a float point of 4. So the 33.3333, we will end up with such a minuscule small space that you won't be able to visually perceive it. So we could go further, but for the most, a float point of 4 is more than enough. Okay, but that's the reason we're doing this. All right, so Now we're going to have a height of auto. I'm going to let the height automatically adjust. The margin will be 0, the padding will be 0. We're telling the element to float left, so it will go out of the normal flow of the document and begin to draw on the left, which will look normal until we see other floats. We're going to tell we're going to set the clear to none, because I want the floats to continue on the left. When I no longer want them to continue, I could use clear both, or I could use clear left or clear both, because we can float left or we could float right. Okay, and again, here's my border so you can see what's going on. So let's go ahead and save, and then we'll refresh our page. All right, so now you're seeing our type, okay, inside of this box. All right, we haven't controlled H3, so H3 has all of its default margin on it right now. But you can see these elements, they're starting to draw up here. This is taking up some space. These items, as hard as it is to get your mind around this, these stars, they're not here. I'm being serious. They're not here. They are in fact here. Okay? If the spacing and the way things work out, they're showing up here, but they are over here. It's kind of crazy how it works. Okay? So you'll see this over time, and it'll start to make more and more sense. It's all how space is reserved. So even though these elements are sitting here, they're actually here. Okay? So let's go back to our code, and what we're going to do is let's style our H3 now inside recipe name. So let's follow. So we're going to target recipe name H3. So this is our compound selector. Okay, the width is 100%. So it's 100% of its parent. Its parent is 33% and its float. All right. So this is also this width. Okay, it's just 100% of it. The height is going to be 1.2 rem. Okay, and the line height is going to be 12 point rem. Now we set our default font in the body of the document to 12 points. So this is going to be a little over 12 point type. And then I'm going to match the line height because I want my type to center vertically. Now I'm not saying to do anything with the text align, so the default left will be evoked here. The margin is now zeroed out, the padding is zeroed out. I'm going to set the font size to 1 rem and the color to white. So let's go ahead and save, and let's take a look. All right, so we have to keep scrolling down. All right, so now here's what's happening. Our type is smaller, and it's centered vertically inside of this H3 element. Okay, now we need to deal with these stars, and the stars are in the rating. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our rating rule, and we'll talk about that. So let's go back. We'll scroll down a little bit. So now we are going to target rating. Okay, the position again is relative. The width is our 33.3333 float point percentage. The height is auto, margin padding zeroed. Again, float left, clear none. And let's go ahead and take our comments off for our border, and we'll save. Now you'll see what happens. All right, so now this element is to the left. Well, what's crazy is it's to the right of this one, but the whole idea is that they start floating on the left. Okay, so now we need to style our little rating icons. So let's get our rule for our rating icons. Okay, and you'll note I have rating So rating, then we're going to target the eye. This will target all of the eyes inside of rating. Now, there are 5 eyes, okay? So even though we've set rating to 33%, its width is 100%, okay? It's 100% of itself. So there's 5 eyes. So I'm setting the eyes, the icons, to a 20%, okay? So they'll fill up the whole space. The height will be 1.2 rems, the line height 1.2, the margin 0, padding 0, font size. Now over here on this style, now I could remove these styles, but it's a good example of using important to override something. Okay, so the font size is 24 and the color is red over here, right? So we're going to set the font size to 1 rem, okay, like we did for our recipe name, but then we're going to use important, and this is going to make this property more important and override the inline style. And then we have our color. We're going to change our color to white, and again override with important. Now our ratings, these icons would stack up on top of each other just like our properties here visually, okay? But we want them to go across horizontally. We don't want them to stack up vertically. So we need these elements to float left also. And then we're going to clear none. That way they'll continue to go from the left over to the right. So let's save and let's take a look. So we need to refresh. And there we go. Okay, now we need to deal with our printer. So that'll be next. All right, so we're going to grab print. Let's go back here. All right, so now print, the position again will be relative, our width 33, auto 0, 0, float left, clear none. We'll take our border off so you can see exactly what's going on. And then we'll save. And then update our page. All right, so now 33.333, each of these, they're going to take up our width here that we've set, okay? This was, I don't know, 65, 70%, something from here to here, okay? And then so our section is now thought to be 100%. So this is our 33 and our float, 33 and our float, 33 and our float. And you'll notice it's the space here is so small, it would be very difficult to see, okay? So now we need to target our printer. So let's go ahead and get our rule for targeting the icon, which is our Font Awesome printer. So we'll paste this in. The width is going to be 100%, okay? And the height 1.2, line height 1.2, 0 on the margin, my padding 0, 0, 0, and then I'm going to use 1 rem on the left-hand side to move the printer over a little bit. The font size is 1 rem, important to override the inline. The color is white, important to override. And again, we're going to use left and clear none. Okay, so we're going to save, update our page, and this is what we now have. All right, so in the next step, we need to start taking our other content within our recipe info, and we need to start adding our styles to get this visual layout. And we're going to use floats again.